Friday, March 6th, 2020. Today in Life School, we're going to talk about mindset and go deeper in that space. It's specifically a topic called objective optimism. So what is that all about? Let me help define it. My perspective is objective optimism is taking a look at the glass half full and working backwards from there. Essentially, it's based on objectivism or factual information. You're considering the facts and still looking to see the bright side and the positive in the situation. Consider the good, perhaps in what's taking place, your surroundings, in others, or even in yourself. So you might ask yourself, why are you bringing this up, Rohit? Well, I think it really matters as to how you look at each and every situation that we're faced with, day in and day out, arguably hundreds of times in a day. Your approach, your mindset, the things that happen, and how you react to them. Charles Darwin, the scientist, actually said, those who survive are not the strongest or the most intelligent, but the most adaptable to change. So how do we change? How do we react to those situations if something happens that's not expected? Something goes wrong. Somebody is sick. Someone can't make a meeting. Something is delayed. I'm thinking about that a little bit nowadays because of our present situation, as all of us in the world are in, with this coronavirus. And some are more disturbed and concerned about it than others, and that's fair. But to me, I see it as somewhat of an opportunity, or I look to view the bright side in that. Bright side is certainly not people struggling or being sick, obviously. But a byproduct of it is some of us are getting a bit more time, perhaps time at home, time with our families, our children. And that's not a bad thing. Taking time for yourself. I have a colleague or two who is not feeling well. They were about to travel next week out to the Bay Area. Now they get a chance to wind down, to take care of themselves and their health. And as many of us know, the best things that are out there to help with health are not the medications and the pills. It's the natural things. In fact, there's a nursery rhyme that talks about this or popularizes it, you may know, talks about 6 things that you need and that are free. Let's see if I remember them. Sunshine, air, rest, water, diet, and exercise. That's all 6 right there. So that is an important reason to think about the mindset and objective optimism. Beyond that, I think it's also critical to think about it from the perspective of what is your narrative? What are you telling yourself? We get faced with these situations. What happens around us? How are we dealing with that? I'll give you an example of that. Athletes. I'm a big fan of sports, as I mentioned. Athletes are always faced with this. Think about it. You're high school, collegiate, professional athlete. You're in the professional ranks, but you may not be the starter. You may have a bad game, a bad series. People, especially in today's world, will come down on you. How do you resolve that in your head? The greatest athletes in the world, they use techniques like self-talk and visualization. Telling yourself you are good enough based on factual information, objective optimism. I went through the ranks. I've survived. I've made it here. I belong here. I am good enough. That doesn't just apply to athletes. That applies to us as well as human beings. You are in some space. You are privileged. You are listening to YouTube. You have access to the internet. Think about how many people in the world don't have access to that, don't have a shirt to wear, shoes, something I share with people, and it should not be overlooked. You have to remind yourself that we are still privileged to have access to these things. So with that, step back and feel confident in the fact that you are where you are supposed to be. You are good enough. That the self-talk analogy that I used, and even objective optimism, credit goes to Dr. Jonathan Fader, who wrote this wonderful book called Life as Sport. I highly recommend it. So how do we take this forward? Well, really, you want to be present and mindful. Are you self-aware of how you are thinking about the situation? Where you are at, something went wrong, look at the bright side in it. Look at what you have accomplished to get to this point. And it may not be where you want to be, but be happy with where you are while you work towards what you want. Another asset or aspect of it is, are your thoughts consuming you, or is it really something that took place? Is it reality versus perceived? Being conscious of that, I think, is also very important. So with that, I leave you with this quote. It's a Shakespearean quote from Hamlet. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Objective optimism is part of mindset. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the opportunity.